So good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mark Comon from Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. I want to welcome you to our preview of our polar bear adventure for November of 2025. This will be the fourth time we'll be heading to Churchill to see the furry little polar bears, and they are awesome and beautiful and cute and amazing. So Peggy is here. Peggy is one of our advanced students. She was with us to go see the Northern Lights last year. So Peggy, you said you wanted to talk to the people about Churchill. Tell them about Churchill.
Right now that my clock is finished donging. I don't know what I was expecting from Churchill, but it's this amazing, charming town with just a lot going on. They have these great community murals. They raise fresh food. So there we were with, I don't know how many feet of snow underneath us, and we were getting these amazing fresh salads and vegetables. The people were great. It was just a lovely, lovely place. And
Yeah.
the guides were great. We didn't stay on the Tundra buggies like you do for the polar bears, but we went out on them. They're super comfortable. Again, all the food was great. Highly recommend, Churchill and the trip, and I hope to do the polar bears, maybe not this year, but the following year.
Well, that's great, Peggy. Thank you. And I wanted to tell you, I mentioned to you how I love the polar bear trip because it feels to me like an African safari. And you guys know how much I love African safari. And, because we're all staying together, we get to see each other all the time. We go out in the morning and we have 4 days of safari looking for polar bears. And you know what the great thing about it is we don't drive very far. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we don't have to look very hard to see the bears because they're right there. And we're right amongst them and we get to see amazing things. And then we come back, we get together for lunch in the middle of the day. We both of the Tundra buggies have lunch together. We chat, we share, we'll switch the guides and the drivers sometimes. I mean, the guides and the photo guides. And then off we go for the afternoon. And afternoon, we come back. We meet in the lounge car, have a drink, and share pictures, and then have dinner. And it's just so awesome. I just can't tell you how much fun it is. So I'm so excited now that I'm thinking about polar bears, it's great. So
And the huge advantage of staying on the Tundra buggies is that you don't have to schlep out there every day. So you're
exactly.
already out there and ready to photograph when everybody else is trudging along, to where you are. So you get an amazing head start.
Yep, every single day. So guys, please type your questions into the chat. Peggy will relay them to me. I will answer as best I can. And here we go. Peggy, can you see the slideshow?
Yes, I can.
Can you guys all see me okay? Everybody okay? Peggy?
Yep. Nobody said yes. Some Kelly said you can see you. Mel said he can see you. I guess I can shut off my video.
Yeah, shut off your video. There you go. All right, great. And so, gang, welcome to the Polar Bear preview. There we go. Welcome to our amazing creative community at Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. We love to have you here. Paul's Photo is our little camera store in Torrance, California. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your loyalty. You know that we have the lab as well that develops all your pictures, scans your slides and all that fun stuff. And we have the Creative Photo Academy, which is where we get out into the world and photograph and have so much fun. And remember that we survive on our core values of customer service, community, and sustainable business practices. So please, gang, if we ever do not live up to these, let me know so we can fix it. And when we do live up to it, which is, I hope, most of the time for you, please tell your family and friends and the internet what we do and how we help you. So how do you keep in touch with us? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We post all the time. In fact, I'll post this preview on YouTube tomorrow or the next day. And at Creative Photo Academy, we have our awesome photo classes, our workshops, and our adventures. You can find more about those at creativephotoacademy.com. I just wanted to make a quick pitch. Starting in May, our 4-week world famous black and white workshop. For those of you who are interested, this is 4 lessons, once a week for 4 weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's an online class and it is recorded. So that way, if you have to miss one, you can. It's on Wednesday nights. Just going to be an amazing experience. And our adventures for 2025, working on some cool stuff for 2026 as well. But you can see the polar bears all the way down in November. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight is what's my goal for tonight? To inform you, to inspire you, and to get you excited. And so just to let you know, that's my picture at minus 47 degrees. We were talking about minus 47 earlier. That was on the Northern Lights trip in March, excuse me, in February. That was what it looked like at minus 47. So it was pretty cold, but you know what? It was great. We got great pictures. We had a great time and had a lot of fun. So why are we here tonight? Why are we going to Churchill? This is why we're going to Churchill. And this is what we're going to see for 4 glorious days is these amazing, beautiful creatures. And they're going to be sharing their lives with us. And we're going to be sharing our lives with them. So the polar bear. Adult males are between 1,000 and 2,000 pounds a year. The females have 1 or 2 cubs every 2 or 3 years. They live solitary existences. They live alone. So the moms live with the cubs, of course, but the males and the females are separate. They come together at certain times for mating. They live around and on the Arctic Ocean. So you can see their habitat here at the top of the globe. And their diet, primarily seals. They will eat some beluga whales. They will eat some walruses if they can catch them. But the primary diet of the polar bear, Ursus maritimus, is the seal. And we'll talk about the seals when we're up there. We will not see them eating because they only eat when the ice is frozen. And we'll talk about this as we go up there. But we're headed up to Churchill, the polar bear capital of the world. And we're going to have a great time in Churchill. The people are amazing. As Peggy was saying, the existence there is just this tiny little town on the edge of the Arctic Circle. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience because we're going to get to see the polar bears. And we're going to get out every day. And hopefully we see mothers with cubs. And we'll see males and we'll see females. And we'll have a great time getting nose to nose with the polar bear and making amazing pictures. Because that's what you guys want. That's what we're here for. So are you ready to get going? All right. So if you want to say yes, you need to call. And you need to call our friends at Frontiers North. Now, I know that on the flyers and on the website up until today, it said you called somebody else because Haley changed her job and Keaton is now our content. So Keaton Scully, I talked to him today. He's awesome. This is his phone number, his contact information. I will send you that by email tomorrow or take it down, write it down, and call tomorrow because there's just a handful of spots left for the Polar Bear Adventure for next year. I mean, for this year, sorry. You need to get on the list. You need to get in if you want to come today. Because what's included in the trip, 2 nights in Winnipeg, 1 night at the beginning, 1 night at the end. Airfare, the charter flight from Winnipeg to Churchill, 4 nights on the Tundra Buggy Lodge amongst the polar bears. So the Churchill area photo tour, 4 full days of Tundra Buggy photography, all the meals and transfers, our Frontier North adventure guides. And yes, it's an expensive trip. I understand that. 13,000 Canadian breaks down to about 11,000 US dollars. But for those who have been with us before, it is worth every single penny. Now, I know you will see competitive trips priced for less, but they are, number one, not including the charter flight from Churchill to Winnipeg, so you have to pay that extra, and they're not staying in the Tundra Buggy Lodge. They are staying at a hotel in town and then spending an hour and a half each morning and afternoon driving back and forth. So that's 2 to 3 hours a day where you're not viewing polar bears, you're driving. And we are going with Frontiers North. Frontiers North is the premier Arctic adventure company. They are the inventors of the Tundra Buggy, and I am so impressed with their operation, their commitment to the environment, their commitment to the polar bears, to the people of the Arctic. 100% conservation minded, building a sustainable business model for working in the Arctic. In fact, they have converted 3 of the Tundra buggies, and maybe we'll have 4 or 5 converted by the time we get there in November to all electric vehicles, so that they are 100% sustainable. They really love the education aspect, and we will learn so much about the Arctic, the First Nations people, the polar bear, the ecology of the polar bears, and the biology of the polar bears, all that fun stuff you want. And they're 100% respectful of the native indigenous population and the animals who live there, because without being respectful for the Arctic, it won't be there for the rest of us. And so this is awesome. And I'm so glad that Michelle Wahlberg hooked us up with Frontiers North as the place to go, because Frontiers North is a supporter, therefore we are a supporter of Polar Bears International, the leading conservation agency protecting, researching, and providing education for the polar bears. We'll actually see while we're out there with the polar bears, Tundra Buggy 1, the first Tundra Buggy ever made, the Frontiers North donated to Polar Bears International, and they use that for research, and they also do live streaming and broadcasting from Tundra Buggy 1 out on the tundra with the polar bears. So we'll see that when we're out there with them. So Peggy, if you have questions, please stop and let me know. So here is the map of Canada. Can you see the cursor, Peggy?
Yes, I can see the cursor.
So we will start our journey in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and then we will fly by charter plane from Winnipeg. It's about 700 or 800 miles from Winnipeg to Churchill, right here on the edge of Hudson Bay. And so why do we go to Churchill? And that's for 2 reasons. Do you see this little shelf right here? That is just an inlet in Hudson Bay. And this is the Churchill River that comes dumping gallons and gallons of fresh water into Hudson Bay. So this little geographic feature here and the fresh water coming in means that in Hudson Bay, Churchill is where the ice forms first. And remember, gang, the polar bears only eat seals that they catch while they're on the ice. So every year, the polar bears come to Churchill in October, November, waiting for the ice to form. So we'll be there October 6th to the 11th to see the polar bears. And last year we were there this same week, and we actually got to watch the ice forming. And I have a picture of that. I mean, it's not a really exciting picture later, but we got to see the ice, the water change from wet water to slush. And we were about 3 days from the first ice actually forming when we were there last year to see it. And it was so amazing. And so that's why we come all the way to Churchill right here. And that's why Churchill is the polar bear capital of the world. Now, I know there's other places to go see polar bears, but there's no better place to go see polar bears. Because when we're in Churchill, one time last year, I saw 25 polar bears in my vision at one time. Now, you can't take a picture of 25 polar bears because there's 3 over there and 4 over there, or 7 over there and 2 over there and 6 over there and 4 over there. And, they're scattered all around the 180-degree view. But it's amazing to be able to see so many polar bears. And that's why we go to Churchill in November to see the polar bears.
And it is November, not October. At one point you said October.
Oh, did I? No, it's November 6th to the 11th or 12th, as I remember.
It says 12th on the website.
Okay, November 6th to the 12th. Thank you. So How do you get to Winnipeg? So you can drive, you can walk, you can ride your bicycle, but most of us are going to fly. And if you can get a direct flight on WestJet, which is a Canadian Airlines, fly direct on WestJet. They fly a couple flights a week direct from LAX to Winnipeg. From around the country, mainly in the US, they're flying to the Sun Belt because Canadians are going south for warm weather, and that's basically where they fly. So you can fly United through Denver or Chicago. Delta flies through Minneapolis. Air Canada flies through Vancouver or Toronto. So for me, from Los Angeles, it's Delta to Minneapolis, LA to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Winnipeg. They have 2 flights a day to do that. So getting there, getting to Winnipeg is relatively easy. It's relatively inexpensive. For me, it's about $500 round trip. And then when we land in Winnipeg, this is the control tower for the airport. Directly across the street is the Lakeview Hotel. So Peggy, how far is the Lakeview Hotel from the baggage claim at the airport?
Maybe a 5-minute walk, and much of it can be done indoors.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
everything connects. You have to walk across the street, and then you walk into a building, and you walk from that building into another building.
Correct. And so it's realistically a 5-minute walk from the airport to the Lakeview Hotel.
And you can take the luggage carts with you.
Right. So we arrive at the Lakeview Hotel whenever your flight gets there. 6 p.m., we meet for our orientation dinner on the first day. And then, so for those of you who've rented gear, you'll go upstairs to the rental locker and pick up. So you can rent the boots, the pants, and the jacket. For those of you who are cold sensitive, I would rent all 3. For those of you who are cold tolerant, I would rent just the jacket and the boots. And that's what I wear. I wear my big heavy jacket, I wear my snow boots, and then regular pants. Because gang, once we get on the Tundra Buggy, we are not on the ground at all. And we're not outside very much at all. So first night, 6 o'clock. Now, one of the problems is a lot of the flights don't get, most of the flights, getting to Winnipeg get there either first thing in the morning or late in the evening. So for me, I have to be careful. Sometimes I need to come to Winnipeg a day early, or you get there earlier in the day. And people say, Mark, so what is there to do in Winnipeg? Oh my gosh, there's so much to do in Winnipeg, and it's very close. It's a 5-minute Uber ride or 10-minute Uber ride from the hotel of the Lakeview to downtown, where you could go to the Winnipeg Zoo and walk in the tunnel underneath the polar bears. Or you can go to the amazing Human Rights Museum right downtown on the river. You can go to the Royal Air Force Museum, which is literally a 5-minute walk the other way from the hotel. You could go to the Manitoba Museum and learn all about the science and nature and indigenous population of Manitoba and central Canada. You can take in a Winnipeg Jets game at night if the Jets are in town, because the arena is literally a 10-minute Uber ride from the hotel. So there's plenty to do in Winnipeg if you have to get in early on your first day. So there's no worries about that. So what you would do is you would just talk to Keaton and tell him, hey, Keaton, I'm coming in a day before, get me a hotel room for the first night. And he'll get you a hotel room. It's a couple $100 for the hotel room. There's breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the hotel. It's not included. You have to pay for that when you're there on your day by yourself. But it's all right there. It's super easy and simple. And about half of the group usually comes in a day early. Any questions, Peggy?
Nope, not yet.
Good. And then we'll have dinner. We'll get up early.
No, somebody just asked what the temperature will be in Winnipeg.
So the temperature in Winnipeg is usually around freezing, maybe up to 40, maybe down to maybe down to the 20s this time of the year in early November.
Yeah, and I got there a day early, and I did not have my rented gear yet. And so I just wore the layers that I had when we went to the Human Rights Museum, and I was fine.
Yeah, you're
And I'm a
fine in
native Southern
Winnipeg.
Californian.
Correct. So then the next morning, we'll get up early and have breakfast and either walk across the street to the airport or drive to the terminal, depending on which terminal we're leaving from. And we have a flight to Churchill. That's included. And hopefully we get to fly on the 737. Otherwise, we're on a very nice on a turboprop up to Churchill. So we leave first thing in the morning, get to Churchill middle of the morning, and then we have a day in Churchill to see Churchill. And so it's really cool. It's just a small little town. There will be snow on the ground when they're in November, we hope. You can see Churchill is right on. This is Hudson Bay right here. And right behind me, right here, you can't see it, is the Churchill River. So it's on a church, the city of Churchill, the town of Churchill is on a peninsula with the river below the picture you see here and Hudson Bay on the other side. And this area out here is where we're going to see, that's where Polar Bear Point is, and that's where the polar bears are. So on our day in Churchill, we'll have almost a full day there to tour. We'll get to meet some of the local people. We'll get to learn about Churchill. And it just depends on the weather and what's going on. You know, this is Joe. He was our polar bear guide. We went out to the local sites. And at this time in Churchill, you always have a polar bear guide with you. And so he is there to watch for the polar bears because the polar bears could actually be walking through town. We'll go out and tour. This is the polar bear jail, where the polar bears who are naughty during the day in town, they get to spend a couple days here waiting for the ice to freeze so that they can go out and leave and not bother the people in town. Because Churchill has 3 distinct seasons of the year. The first season, what we're going for, is polar bear season in October, November. We were just there in February and March for aurora season because Churchill is also the aurora capital of the world. And I can tell you, gang, there's a lot of cool places to go see the aurora borealis, but I don't think there's any place better than Churchill because we have been to Churchill 3 times to see the aurora, and we have seen it. We had a total of 9 nights possible to see it, and we have seen the aurora all 9 nights we've been there because Churchill has aurora 300 days a year. So there will be aurora activity while we are with the polar bears, but the problem is we probably won't get to see it. So the reason why we go in February and March is the aurora is strongest in the springtime. And number 2, there's about an 85% chance of clear skies. So when we're there in November, it's generally overcast and cloudy. So that's why we won't get to see the aurora. And then in the summertime, July and August, the beluga whales come in to mate in the waters of the Churchill River. So there are literally thousands of beluga whales in and around Churchill. You can come see them. You can go out on a boat. You can go in a kayak in the river. So those are the 3 seasons that the people in Churchill love. And you know, we're going to be there for the polar bears. And we'll take our town tour. We'll do all kinds of crazy. And you can see people are not dressed super duper warm. You know, regular pants. You know, some have the big jackets, some don't. That just depends on your cold tolerance while we're here in Churchill on our first day. Then we'll go around, and as Peggy said, they had this beautiful art project years ago. It's still beautiful. We'll go out and see all of this art and see the sights of Churchill. We'll walk and see the polar bear murals around town that are fantastic. We'll make pictures, and then we'll head out and drive to the buggy dock at about 4 o'clock, and we'll board our Tundra Buggy for our drive out across the tundra to the Tundra Buggy Lodge. So here we are on the Tundra Buggy, and we arrive at the Tundra Buggy Lodge. It's about an hour, maybe an hour and 20-minute drive. So we'll get out there the first day, sun will have gone down, and we'll get to see the Tundra Buggy Lodge. And this will be our home for the next 4 nights. And you need to think of the Tundra Buggy Lodge as either a train or a space station. And it works both ways. So the Tundra Buggy Lodge is made up of Tundra buggies that are hooked together. Now, on the end is a Tundra buggy, and the Tundra buggies mate to the back of the Tundra Buggy Lodge so that the backs go back to back or the sides go in to side. You can see the Tundra buggies are mated here so that once we get on the Tundra Buggy dock, our feet will not touch the ground until we get back to the Tundra Buggy dock in 4 days. So the Tundra Buggy Lodge is made up of 2 sleeper cars where we will sleep, the lounge car where we'll get together and have cocktails and meet and discussion, and finally the dining car where we'll have dinner and breakfast each and every night. Then there's the kitchen, the cook car, and the 2 crew cars up on the front. So that's the Tundra Buggy Lodge. Now, what does it look like inside? I'm going to show you. So this is the sleeper car. And inside the sleeper car, there are 10 bunk rooms with 2 bunks in each. So that's room for 20 people. That's our whole group will be sleeping in one of the sleeper cars. So you see 2 beds and a bunk bed. Underneath the bed is the gear storage. So that's where you're going to put your suitcase, your camera bag, and all that kind of stuff. Each room, each little enclosure has a temperature control. Here's the bunks, 2 bunks, and each bunk has a light and 4 electrical outlets for you to plug in and charge your cameras and stuff. And there are 2 curtains in each set of bunks. So one curtain which curtains you into the bunk, and then a curtain on the outside which gives you a space where you can change clothes and stuff like that in private. So this is what it looks like when we're in there. So this is my bunk. John and I shared the bunk, right? So he's below, I'm on top. You can see these people have their curtains closed. So in the bunk room, there's the 10 berths, so to speak. There's 3 restrooms, 3 toilets, and 2 showers in the bunk room. So there's plenty of facilities for everyone. It works. It's a great experience. If you need a top or if you want a top or need a bottom bunk, that's all accommodated. You're just going to talk to Keaton about that and he will arrange that. Any questions, Peggy?
Yes, several questions. One has to do with the ratio of guests to toilets, which I guess we now know is 20-3 and 20-2.
No, there's 3 toilets and 2 showers.
Total for
each. Yeah, for each. So the other sleeper coach has its own 3 toilets and 2 showers.
And that's for the 20 people.
Yes.
And
gang, it's not a problem, because people will get up, people will shower. Some people shower in the morning, some people shower in the evening, some people don't shower. It's never been a problem.
And then somebody said that, does the top bunk have a power outlet like the bottom bunk?
Yeah, it does.
Yes. I told Kelly that I did not need any adapters or converters.
No. So there is so the power and light, it's up here. You just can't see it. It's hidden by the bunk. Yeah.
And then earlier, had a question about weight limit for flights. And I just
not a problem.
The flight to Churchill being the same as the flight to Winnipeg.
Oh, no. So yeah, the standard airline rules apply. And so what I bring, gang, is I have my regular suitcase. I have a suitcase that carries my winter clothes. So I have 2 suitcases. And then I have my traditional Africa style camera bag, which I'll show you in a minute. So there are weight limits, but
check luggage and the camera bag.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a problem. Not an issue.
It's not like Africa.
No, it's not like Africa. No. God, no. Because you need a lot more clothes than that.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of wouldn't work.
No, exactly. Other questions, Peggy?
What what temperature is it inside the bunk rooms?
Comfortable. About 60 usually. We keep it a little on the chilly side so that you don't, it's not super duper. It's not like, I hate it in the wintertime when you go inside and it's like 80 and you want to feel like you want to strip down to everything. So most of the time I'm wearing a long, so you can see John has a long sleeve shirt on and long pants. That's what I'm wearing most of the time.
All right, I think that's all the questions.
Awesome. So this is the lounge car. And the lounge car is configured different ways. So this is on the right side. The left side of the lounge car has sofas set up. So you can sit on a sofa. There's little cocktail tables. In the lounge car is a place to just hang out. Because I don't like to hang in the sleeper car because it's close. That to me is just for sleeping. So if I'm not sleeping, I'm out here in the lounge car. This is also where the Wi-Fi is. So if you want to connect with home, now it's not super fast. There is no cell service. You really can't do like a FaceTime video. It's not strong enough Wi-Fi for that. But you can certainly text, you can email a picture home, you can read your email, stuff like that in the lounge car. Before dinner, they set up hors d'oeuvres. They have little snacky setup. If you want to bring liquor, you can. Sodas are included in the trip and they're provided here as well. That's the lounge car. Then this is the dining car. Looks very much like the lounge car, except you've got tables on both sides, 40 people for dinner. The dinner is amazing. They provide wine, white wine, red wine with dinner. If you want other things, if you want fancy wine, you're welcome to bring it. It's just a great experience. The food is phenomenal. Peggy, tell them about the food, or Martha, text in, tell them about the food that we had there.
I mean, the food that we had on the Tundra Buggies, I mean, that one night it was like the best gourmet farm to table meal you'll ever have.
Exactly, and that's what it is, because there's Darren, he's the chef, and he's cooking right there on the Tundra Buggy. And his crew is amazing, and they make these wonderful meals that are all locally sourced, sustainable. And you know what I love about it? Every meal has a story. So, and he will tell you the story, or whichever of his team made the menu for that, they'll tell you the story of why they put this dinner together. And, it's either an association with the farmer or a memory of one of their family members or something. It's not camping, guys. It's a great experience. And every night, every meal is an experience. And then you know what happens during dinner, Peggy?
Well, they tell you all about the food and the story and how it was prepared.
But I'll bet you during dinner on our first night, this is what you see
Oh,
outside the
you'll see
view
a
at
polar
dinner.
bear.
You get to see a polar bear. So, most of the time on the way in or out, we don't really see the bears because they're on the other side of Polar Bear Point is actually on the other side of the lodge. Occasionally we'll see one on the drive in, but most of the time, your first polar bear view will be during dinner. And it's so cool because someone will scream, "There's a bear!" And everybody jumps up and runs to the window or goes out to the opening between and gets to see their first polar bear. And it's awesome. And we'll get to see polar bears every night at dinner. We'll get to see polar bears at breakfast because the polar bears are literally right around the buggy. And when we go out for tundra buggying during the day, we don't drive more than 5 miles away from the Tundra Buggy Lodge. That's how close we are, and that's where the bears are. It's absolutely phenomenal. In the morning, we'll get up, have breakfast, head out, and it's about 8 o'clock, and we get the beautiful, if we have sunshine, we have the beautiful warm light in the morning. So these are the polar bears. And behind you see Hudson Bay with some ice starting to form on it. So not quite enough ice for the bears to go out, but still the ice is starting to form. They're on these little ponds that are all frozen in the foreground. You know, we did have some sunshine one day and we're able to get out. So here's the Tundra Buggy on the ice, and there's the bay. And the bay is still open, so the bears can't go out yet. So, what does our polar bear day look like? 4 days, 7 o'clock breakfast, 8 o'clock departure. We'll go out. We leave in the Tundra Buggy at 8 o'clock. So from 8 o'clock until 4:30-ish, we're in the Tundra Buggies out with the polar bears. We'll take a coffee break at 10 o'clock. At noon, we'll bring our two Tundra Buggies together and have lunch. And you can mix with the other parts of the group and we'll be together. It'll be great fun. So the coffee break is just that. So they'll bring coffee, hot chocolate things. They'll have sodas, chips in the Tundra Buggy for you if you want. Lunch is generally soup and a sandwich. So they'll make sandwiches, you know, in the cook staff will make sandwiches and our Tundra Buggy driver will set up sandwiches and soup for us. Hot chocolate, coffee, sodas if you want. In the afternoon, we'll have a snack. We'll be back for 4:35-ish, depending on the light and where we are. Then you'll have a break, time to freshen up. Some people will shower then. Some people will shower after dinner. Some people will shower in the morning before breakfast. That's all up to you. 6 o'clock, hors d'oeuvres are out. Happy hour is open in the lounge car. 7 o'clock is dinner. And then off to bed, and we're off at it again tomorrow. And we do that for 4 days. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yes, there is a toilet on the buggy, so you don't need to worry about that. And you do need to tell us that you got to go because we can't have somebody in the restroom while we're driving. So we have to be stopped. But we're stopped most of the time, gang. It's not like we're on a drive. We're not rushing to go anywhere because the bears are literally right there. And this is what it looks like when we're looking for bears. This is the inside of the Tundra Buggy. So the Tundra Buggies are designed for 40 people. With my group, we put 10 people on a buggy. So what does that mean? There's 2 seats on the left, a wide aisle, 2 seats on the right. You get 1 aisle all the way across. So if the bears are on the right or the bears are on the left, you can move across to see the bears. It's awesome. What most of us do is one of the chairs will have our camera bag on it. So the outside chair, the inside chair is where we would kneel or sit or stand. You open the window, you put your lens out the window to photograph the bears. So this is Mark. He's one of the guides. He is looking for bears to see where the bears are, to see what the bears are doing, and to see which bear we're going to go look at. So what are the temperatures when we're out? It's usually between 32 degrees and 0 Fahrenheit when we're out. So you need a moderate jacket. You need Jan and Liba had these crazy hats. They decided to put them on for a picture. If you want to wear a crazy hat, you can. It'll be mostly cloudy. So you usually don't see a lot of sun. Maybe first thing in the morning, last thing in the afternoon, we'll see some sun. And then generally can have some wind. A little bit of snow from time to time, but most of the snow we get is blown in off of the lake rather than actually snowing coming down. Questions, Peggy?
Several questions. So if somebody wanted to verify that the temperature in the other cars was the same as in the sleepers, so about 60 or low 60s.
Yeah, about that.
And is there an outside platform? I said yes, because I
Yes.
remembered Heather's pictures.
Yep.
Is there any likelihood that we would not see bears? Someone said that they heard there was a 2-week window.
No. Well, I mean, if the ice was the only reason we would not see bears is if the ice were to form early and the bears were to leave. Because once the ice forms, the bears are gone. Frontiers North will cancel the trip. if the bears have left already. So they're not going to take us up there. They're not going to take our money if there are no bears. Now, and I have never heard of that with this trip. So early trips in the year, I've heard of that. And later trips in the year, I've heard of that. So this will be our fourth time with this week each and every time. And it's always been amazing. But the other thing I got to tell you guys, it's nature. And, the ice may form 2 days into our trip and the bears may leave. I mean, that's it. But I'll tell you that once the ice forms or the ice is getting close, the males leave early, and that's where the mothers and cubs come. So last year, we saw mothers and cubs. We saw very few males. The first time we saw all males. The middle time was a little bit of a mix of both. So it's just like African safari. You never know what you're going to get. But the chances of us getting skunked are very, very, very low. But there's always a chance of that. Did that answer whoever's question that was?
Yeah, somebody asked about stopping the lens from fogging up when you open the window.
So that's why we keep the Tundra Buggy is kept below freezing. So it's warm once you pull the windows up, but you've got your clothes on. You're not going to be freezing to death inside. It works, and we keep it to the right temperature so things don't fog up.
And what other animals might you see?
We will see foxes, four breeds of foxes, Arctic hares, ptarmigan, other birds, maybe some seabirds, and so I said foxes, hares, ptarmigan are the three that probably sees. This is Luke, one of our drivers, and this is what it looks like when we're photographing the bears. So you can see the long lenses sticking out the side, bean bags holding the lenses in place, and that's what it looks like, gang. Luke, I've ridden with Luke a number of times. He's an awesome guy. We'll be with Dave. We'll be with Bob. Whoever our driver is, we'll have a great time with them.
And the bean bags are provided, right?
No, they are not.
You have to bring your own bean bags?
You have to bring your own bean bag, but the beans are provided. They have a bag of beans, so you bring your bean bag, you fill your bean bag, and then you empty it in the bag of beans when you leave to go home.
All right.
So you can get on the back deck if you want. So there's the back deck. So you can see people are shooting out the window and they are shooting from the back deck. So it's up to you, and it just depends on where the bear is. Of course, it's colder on the back deck than it is in the buggy, but you can get an awesome experience. And if you want to get close to polar bears, you can be an inch away from polar bears when you're standing on the deck, because the deck is a metal grate, and the bears will actually come up and push their nose up to the grate, and they will smell you from underneath the grate. Now, if you put your finger down there, they're going to eat your finger. So I don't recommend that. But the bears will stand right underneath the grate. They will stand up. If you notice, everything on the Tundra Buggy van is above 9 feet tall, because that's as far up as a polar bear can stand. So they don't want the polar bears to have any contact at all with people. So there I am out on the back deck. We're photographing. We're having a great time. It's just awesome fun. That's Jeff. Many of you don't know Jeff. He's our Nikon rep. That's Julie. She's one of our regulars. There I am out on the back deck, and we're photographing. We're having a great time. And you can see it's not even cold enough. I don't even have a hat. I have a baseball cap on, not even a stocking cap.
Someone asked if a monopod would be useful.
Not really. I mean, you could bring one. Tripods are not useful at all. You could use a monopod. I just take my beanbag and put it on the rail of the deck out back. That's worked best for me. So we have 4 amazing days in the buggy, just waiting for the light, looking for the polar bears. you know, and this is how close you get. So this is Kelly with a wide angle lens, right? There's Liba and Kelly with a wide angle lens. I mean, the bear is literally right there. And the bears come up to us and check us out. They want to see what we're up for. They want to see if there's anything for them to eat. Now, you're not allowed to feed them. You can't throw them a snack or anything. And I don't like to photograph with the bears this close. I like the bears to be, 30, 40, 50 yards away so you can get a good angle on them with a 400, 500, 600 millimeter lens. That's my favorite. So here is a bear walking across in front of Hudson Bay. And this was last year when the ice was beginning to form. And it's very interesting to see. So this is salt water at this point, freezing. And it doesn't freeze like a pond would freeze for those of you who grew up in the Midwest or on the East Coast. The water turns from liquid water to this gray slush. And that's where we are now, is in the slushy form. And as it gets colder for longer, that's when the water will get solid, so to speak. So, and this is pretty much the weather. This is what it looks like when we're out photographing. So that's how gray the skies are. I mean, it's pretty dang gray all day long when we're out photographing the polar bears. So this day we did have a little bit of snow. The snow was actually falling, but it was great. I mean, you're out to photograph. I mean, you're photographing. It's great. It works. Just much fun. And it just depends on where the bears are in the environment. One reason why I like to go in November rather than October is most of the time the ground is going to be snow. In October, sometimes you go in October and the ground is dirt, and it just doesn't look right with the polar bears. The pictures don't look right with the polar bears against the dirt. So Peggy, what's that a picture of?
A bear claw,
No, it's bare feet.
bare feet. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
boo,
oh.
boo. But it could be a bear claw too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that
But
for
not a
breakfast.
pastry.
Not a pastry. No, no, no. Yes. So there's all kinds of things to photograph. So bear on the ice. So crossing one of the little ponds with this great reflection. And you notice there's no snow on the ice because the wind has blown the snow all off. And sometimes you see the bears and they're like skating across the ice. It's kind of fun. We've seen bears slip and slide. We've seen bears go running and sliding across the ice, which is really fun. And if you get that late afternoon light, it's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So people ask what other kind of animals we see. So foxes are very prevalent. So there's red fox. They tell bad jokes. You have Arctic fox, you have silver fox, and you have cross fox. You have the Arctic hare and the ptarmigan, which is the Arctic chicken. So we'll get to see most of those, some of which you'll be able to photograph, some you won't. But we had a great view of this cross fox, and he was awesome. He's called a cross fox. So the Arctic fox, the silver fox, and the cross fox are all the same, just different coloring. And the cross fox is just a dark version of the silver fox. He has this cross across his back of darker fur. Pretty awesome to see. He was hunting a mouse or a vole or something in the snow when we were watching him. So we'll get to see mothers and cubs, we hope. So most of the times the mothers have one cub. Sometimes they'll have two cubs. Last year we saw a mother with 3 cubs, and that was very exciting to see. And they're not afraid. They're just going to hang out with us and check us out, and the cubs will get inquisitive and come over, and then you're going to get your picture. And it's going to be phenomenal. We'll get to see males sparring. And, so 2 years ago, it was all about male sparring. Last year, it was all about the cubs. You never know. It just depends on what nature brings us. And so we would see these 2 males, and they would be sleeping, and they would be laying there together. And then one of them would get up and do whatever, and they'd start this battle and get up and spar, spar, spar. and that would take a minute or two, and then they'd lay down for another 10 minutes, and we'd, have a drink and wait, and up they'd go again. And so bear after bear. Here in these willows, there are a lot of bears in the willows right beside the lake shore, and it's just awesome. Yeah, and I probably have 50, 75 different bear encounters between the different bears and their sparring. So Peggy, what's that look like?
A shadow?
Of?
A Tundra Buggy?
Well, it is a Tundra Buggy, but what's it look like? Come on, somebody in the chat. Come on.
Star Wars?
Yes, it's an AT-AT. But that's our Tundra Buggy in the late afternoon sun. Exactly right. Yeah. I can't wait. Right? So this was late afternoon sun. Oh my gosh, this was Nikon Z9, 25,000 ISO, 125th of a second at f2.8. Just that last sun in the afternoon, these bears were going at it. It was so fun. That is the Arctic sunset. Sometimes in the Arctic, when the sun goes down, you get this column of fire of the last rays of the sun, was positioned right behind the other Tundra Buggy, and it made this awesome sunset photo. It was so fun. So then we head back to the Tundra Buggy, 5 o'clock. We rest. We have hors d'oeuvres at 6 o'clock, dinner at 7, bedtime, up in the morning, 7 o'clock the next day, out 8 o'clock the next day. So it's bear, dinner, repeat. On our last day, we've Tundra Buggy all day. And then a little early, we head back and bring the Tundra Buggy back to Churchill. We take the charter flight from Churchill back to Winnipeg, get back to Winnipeg at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, check into the Lakeview Hotel, have drinks in the bar, and then the next morning we get up, turn in your rental gear if you have rental gear. And then in the morning we'll get up, and the flight to Los Angeles, so the first flight out LA from Winnipeg to Minneapolis leaves at like 6:30 in the morning. That's the flight I'll be on. So a lot of people fly out on later flights during the day. That's up to you. You have the room until they check out time at noon on the last day. So this is the kit I'm bringing. So the same kit I take to Africa. So Mindshift First Light 46, Nikon Z8, Z9, 24 to 70, 70 to 200, 400 millimeter 2.8, 1.4 extender, 2x extender, and a 10 by 30 pair of binoculars. So whatever gear you have is fine, but you really want a 400, you want to be able to get to 400, 500, 600 millimeter lenses to get the picture that you want. So remember, gang, write this down because you're going to be emailing to Keaton tonight or calling him first thing in the morning tomorrow to say yes, to put your deposit down. So you're putting the deposit down. Then you're looking for good deals on your airfare to get us there so that we can have an amazing experience in Churchill. So remember, at the Creative Photo Academy website is the itinerary with a lot of this information in it. Any questions, Peggy?
Somebody had a question about how many buggies there are. In other words, is it like Africa where you have 20 or 30 safari vehicles?
No. So there are about a dozen buggies in total allowed in the bear area. And there's so many bears. I mean, sometimes we'll be there with like 4 buggies kind of parked together, but there'll be 8 bears around us. And the bears are kind of walking between the buggies and playing and fighting and whatever. So it's not like Africa where you've got, 1 bear and 8 buggies surrounding it. Not generally. I've never seen it like that. Other questions?
Somebody asked for the email again. It was Keaton Scully
Yes. Hold on.
at
Hold on. I got to figure out how to go backwards. There you go. Can you see it?
I
Peggy,
can
can
see
you
it.
see it? Okay.
Yeah, it's Keaton period Scully.
At frontiersnorth.com. And if you look at the email is, oh, Haley's email. You can email to Haley too, and she'll just forward it to Keaton. I'll send you the email tomorrow morning with the recording of this. But you have Haley's email on the link to tonight's presentation, and you can send to her. You can call her, or so it's the same phone number. It's just Keaton is extension 302. Of course, they're not there now. They're on Central Time. So when you wake up in the morning, they start at like 9 or 10 in the morning. So 7 or 8, they'll West Coast time, they'll start answering the phone.
Yeah, and I put the link to the Creative Photo Academy page again too for the polar bears.
Oh, can you look at it? Peggy, did Wyatt
Sure.
get it changed today?
Let's see.
Because that was about 3 o'clock that
No,
they
it still
told.
says Haley.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
has, I mean, the same phone number and
Yeah.
then extension
Yeah.
301
Haley's
instead of
301
302.
instead of
But I mean,
302.
she's a very nice person. I'm sure she would forward it.
She's going to take care of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right, gang.
And somebody
Questions?
wants to know how many spots are open.
Uh, when I checked this morning, there was 4 or 5. So that's why you got to get on it. And there's a firm limit of 20 because there's only 20 bunks. We only have 20 bunks in the Tundra Buggy Lodge. So once the bunks are full, we're done.
Someone says -1. She just called in her reservation.
Ah, good job.
Now, Chris says she has a single room, I assume, in Winnipeg and Churchill, and would be willing to share with another female.
Well, but
But that
okay,
doesn't
so
affect the 20,
it
right?
doesn't affect the 20 because they're not, you're going to have to share the 2 bunk beds with somebody unless we're short. But yeah. Yeah, you would have to pay for a whole nother trip not to share your little enclosure. And it doesn't matter, we'll be together. It'll be fun. We'll love it.
But I
Yep.
assume she has a single room in Winnipeg, and I don't know if there's
Yes.
a night in Churchill.
Yes. No, yeah. So in Winnipeg both nights. So other questions?
No other questions right now.
Okay.
I'm just trying to keep my working cats off my keyboard.
Oh, come on. Your cats are fun.
They are fun.
All right.
Kelly,
So,
okay, well, Kelly, you and Chris need to get together.
yes, yes. All right. Anybody else?
Should Kelly and should Kelly and Chris call the store to get together with each other? Or
No, no, no. So this Paul's photo has nothing to do with the signing upping.
okay,
That's all done by Frontiers North.
okay. So I guess when you contact Frontiers North, you just give them that intel.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
one person who can't go says, can you use a refrigerator for meds, or do you have to stick your meds in the snow?
No, they have a refrigerator. People use they have refrigerator in the kitchen. That a lot of people have done that. Anybody else?
No. Oh, somebody asked, did the airlines give you any problems carrying the 461 onto the plane?
No, not at all.
Oh, 46 liter. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's my the 46 liter is an Air Max bag. So that means it's approved. Now, you can't stuff it full so the shape of the bag gets bigger. The shape of the bag has to stay square the way it is.
And you have to be able to get it into the overhead bin yourself so that the
Yes.
flight attendants don't realize how heavy it actually is.
Correct, because you will be overweight. So by the time you fill it, so my bag is about 30, 35 pounds, with all of my gear. So yeah, so that's one of the things we'll talk about on the, on the prep class before we go. We'll have another Zoom meeting, go over this information, but my tips for getting your stuff there and back. But it's just standard airline rules apply. You just have to be smart on that. Anybody else?
No, Mary says, thank you, good presentation.
Thank you, Mary. I love it. I hope all of you guys, well, no, you all can't sign up, but I hope that
Passports, yes, correct.
absolutely you're going to Canada. It's a different country. Yes. And they're very nice people in Canada. They take good care of us. So,
Definitely.
yes. Other questions?
Nope.
All right. Well, gang, so thank you very much, everyone. It was awesome to talk to you. It was awesome to spend an hour with you talking about polar bears. I mean, there's few things that I like. I mean, talking about Africa would be cool, but talking about polar bears is super cool too. So I'm glad that a lot of you are joining us. I hope that you all get it on board with us because we're going to have a great time. I can't wait to share the experience with you and share my newfound passion for the Arctic because it is a wonderful, wonderful place on our planet and that needs to be preserved. And one good way to preserve it is to go with the people who will take care of it, like Frontiers North and our friends at Polar Bears International. So, all right, gang. If there's nothing else, I'm going to give 5, 4, 3, 2. Any more questions? If you guys have questions, call me at the store. If you want to sign up, call Keaton tomorrow and we'll get everybody hooked up. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks, Peggy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
I'll
you,
see you
everyone.
later.